Hi, everyone, and welcome or welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner. And welcome to this Christmas holiday horror movie review video as part of my current December 2023 series. So, today we're going to take a look at a movie that I actually picked up at a horror convention a couple months ago in Lexington, Kentucky. If you're familiar with my channel, I have videos up on that convention talking about what I picked up and how it was and everything from October. But while I was there, I talked to a gentleman from Blood Moon Pictures who had a booth there, and I picked up a holiday themed anthology movie, and that movie is 13 Slays Till Xmas. And that's the movie that we're going to be reviewing today. So, yeah, this is a Christmas anthology movie. So I was really excited to pick it up. I think I paid about $20 for it. It's on Blu ray here, but there's a whole bunch of, I haven't watched any of these, but there's a whole bunch, nearly 2 hours of special features. Um, well, you probably can't see that with the lighting, but I have to check those out. But Pray Christmas doesn't come early. That's the tagline. A fresh, fun, twisted romp. The perfect blood soaked present for holiday loving horror fans, according to Jeffrey Reddick, creator of Final Destination. So, yeah. So, let's take a look at 13 Slays Till Xmas, the Christmas anthology film. So, get my notes here. So 13 Slays Till Xmas is a 2020 Christmas themed horror anthology. It premiered on November 13th, 2020 at Kentucky Wesleyan College, and it was followed by a release on home video the following year. So basically, the movie takes place on December 24th. Five seemingly random men are invited to a dive bar by a mysterious email. They decide to pass the time by resurrecting the old tradition of telling scary stories on Christmas Eve. So that, of course, is what introduces us to our 13 short stories that we have in this movie. I'm not going to name all the directors, writers, or stars, but just a few here. Brittany, as far as directors, we have Brittany Blanton, Blevins, and Bryan. Jed Bryan, and then writers are Shane Bitterling, Sean Blevins, and Jed Bryan, and then the movie stars among many, many others: Jeffrey Reddick, Sadie Katz, and Jessica Anderson. So yeah, that's sort of the setup, the premise, and the cast for 13 Slays Till Xmas. I keep wanting to say days, that's why I have to look at. But I know it's pretty short, the premise there. I don't want to give too much away with this movie because there is a wraparound, and then it does have 13 individual short stories besides the wraparound. So when I first saw that and read about it, I'm like, it was both kind of a good and a bad. The good part is, wow, 13 stories. I wonder, Christmas themed. I wonder what they can come up with. But then at the same time, I'm like, how long is this movie going to be? And are the stories not going to be flushed out because they're too short? But surprisingly, I would say this movie actually does a pretty good job considering the amount of content they basically get into, like 90 to 100 minutes. It's somewhere around there. I don't know the exact I don't think it says the exact runtime of it, but yeah. Anyways, with that being said, let's just go ahead and get into my review of it. So basically, these five men plus there's a female bartender, so six people, and they basically tell two Christmas horror stories each to give you 12, and then I think the 13th one um is either the wraparound or maybe one of the characters tells three. I can't remember. But as far as the pros go, I have to say I really enjoyed all these different shorts, all 13 of them. None of them were terrible. There were a handful to me that really did stand out a little bit more than the others, and I'll get to those at the end of my pros here. But I would say all of them had interesting points. They were kind of, for what they were, I thought they were good. Um, One of the best things about this movie is it absolutely reeks of Christmas atmosphere, Christmas decor, Christmas storytelling. Everything in this movie is related to Christmas, whether it's set on Christmas. There's Christmas music, there's Christmas decorations, Christmas trees, people dressed in Santa suits. You got, you got, yeah, just everything. Christmas decor all over the place. So if you're looking for a Christmas horror movie that's got a lot of atmosphere, then I would definitely recommend checking out this movie. because I was very impressed. It's definitely a good December Christmas holiday movie to watch. And it is going to be added to my every December watch going forward. I can say that safely right now. But yeah, I really like that part of it. I really like this movie has a lot of like Easter eggs and callbacks to not only the horror genre overall, but a lot of other horror movies. Whether it be through things like people's names, signage that you see in different scenes, even advertisements and names or places that are used. It's just really cool. They did a really good job and paid homage to the whole horror genre and the movies that came before it. So that was one of my favorite things about this movie, in addition to all the Christmas atmosphere and decor. It's just really fun and made the watch even more engaging than it would have been otherwise. I did enjoy the narrative of the wraparound story for the most part. I thought it was an effective way of introducing all these stories. It might sound a little boring on the front end where you just have five people meeting in a bar and telling stories, but this movie, a lot of things work in it. At least for me, they do, and this is one of them. Now, I won't say I didn't love the wraparound story, and when I get to my cons, you'll know why. But as far as the introduction and these characters and stuff, I thought it was good. I thought it was a really good way, especially for 13 different stories. I thought it was a good narrative setting for that. So it also made me more intrigued to watch this entire movie to see exactly how these characters were going to be tied together, because it said on the back that they're harboring dark secrets. There's some sort of connection between them, so I wanted to see how that played out. Um, so yeah, I thought it was an interesting wraparound. Um, let's see. The movie does a really good job, and this is probably the biggest compliment I could pay it, because it's really not an easy thing to do, but it does a really good job of balancing many different aspects, from Christmas atmosphere and decor to some humor and comedy to some gore to some storytelling. Um, this movie, it's interesting because the movie's definitely not overly silly. It kind of knows what it is. It kind of has a wink, wink at the audience from time to time, but yet there are moments that are very serious or very suspenseful, but yet they're not afraid to inject levity or lines by characters that are funny. There's one about a radio station that comes to mind right away that had the perfect balance for me. Yeah, I think overall the movie does a really good job of that, of balancing all those things, because a lot of times, whether it's a horror anthology movie or a Christmas horror movie or a comedy a horror movie, you get too much of one and not enough of this and not enough of this. I felt like this movie had it all, just the right amount of humor, with just the right amount of horror, with just the right amount of gore, with just the right amount of Christmas atmosphere. It's all there, and they do a really good job balancing it out. So, um, yeah, it just makes for a really fun Christmas horror watch. Um, it's never overly silly or comedic though, and that's one thing I hate more than anything. I like comedy a little bit in my horror movies, but kind of a little bit more dry, a little bit more tongue in cheek, and not just like right out there in front of you where it's obvious and it gets silly. And this movie's not like that, so I really appreciated that about it. Overall, it's just a very fun holiday related anthology movie that will definitely be added to my yearly watch list. As I said, there's nothing grossly terrible about this movie. It is a lower budget movie, so you're not getting a big Hollywood studio here. But I also didn't feel like I was watching a shot on video in somebody's back garage kind of movie either. I mean, it does have enough production to make it a formidable, good horror movie in that regard. But it's just a very fun holiday watch. That's the best way to describe it. And me being a fan of anthology movies, I had my doubts with 13 different shorts. I really do like the title too, by the way, 13 Slays Till Xmas. I just love the title. What can I say? Um, but sorry, my thoughts are kind of all over the place. But I was worried about that having so many shorts. But like I said, they pull it off. They do a good job from a structural standpoint, and also not overstaying their welcome here. So getting into what my favorite segments are, I don't know the exact names for the segments. I know they had them at the ending credits. I didn't write them down or anything. So I'm just going to kind of describe them to you. But basically, there's four for me that stood out over the rest, at least on this one time watch. but I enjoyed them all. But there's one having to do with caribou. There's one that has to do with a radio station DJ. There's one about Christmas revenge on two home intruders. And then there's one about an escaped mental patient. So those are the four. If you've seen this, you probably can pick out what four I'm talking about. Or if you haven't seen it, just look for those four if you're interested in watching it. But those were the four that really stood out to me that I really enjoyed. Whether it be the humor aspects of it, the gore aspects of it. The movie's not overly gory, but it's definitely got blood and gore in it. It's definitely not a PG-13 movie. That being said, it certainly isn't the bloodiest or goriest movie I've ever seen, either Christmas horror movie or horror movie in general. But I think it's going to have enough blood and stuff to satisfy the gore hounds out there. That's another thing I wanted to add to my positives. But yeah, those are my four favorite segments that stood out. Getting into my cons regarding this movie, it is a lower budget movie. Therefore, I did find that the acting was uneven throughout all the different shorts, as well as the directing, as well as the cinematography. I mean, you have a lot of different writers, a lot of different directors, a lot of different actors. I mean, you have different directors with different stories, with different actors. You're probably not going to get a straight line of all great across the board. It kind of goes more like this, and I did notice some of that with this movie, although I don't think it's the worst I've ever seen in that regard either. But it is lower budget, so know that there's some pretty bad acting in parts, especially among some of the younger performers in certain segments. Some of the directing was better than others. Same with the cinematography. There were some dark moments that I had a hard time seeing what was happening on screen on certain scenes. So just know that going in, where some stories are going to be really solid in one area, but then probably not as solid in the other areas, and then vice versa for the different stories. So kind of made for an uneven movie overall as a whole, at least from a technical standpoint. Getting back to the wraparound, one thing I really did not enjoy was the ending of the movie and basically the end of the wraparound. I don't know, it wasn't terrible, but it just kind of felt like a cheap out, kind of lazy and predictable. It just didn't. The biggest thing is all this build up and watching these guys in the bar and telling these stories, and you knew something good was coming, where they were something was going to happen, a connection or a big twist. And I don't know, it just kind of left me unsatisfied. I kind of wanted more from it, and instead, this other character that basically brought them all there shows up and kind of explains what the purpose was in all this, and it goes from there. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, it's not the worst ending in the world, but that was one of the disappointing aspects of the movie for me. Just not feeling as satisfied as I was hoping I was going to throughout the movie. Some of the dialogue again is clunky, whether that's delivery or the writing. Again, it goes back to that low budget thing with many different directors. And most of the stories, because they are shorter, aren't necessarily as flushed out as some people might like. Although, again, I didn't feel like there was a story. If you want to say stories or shorts, whatever, there was still enough there for some horror, for some gore, for some humor. None of them really were completely like, what the hell was that kind of thing. But again, if you're somebody that ultimately, I think 3 to 5 stories work best for an anthology movie, with rare exceptions. This is probably one of them, as well as Tales of Halloween, which I believe has 10 stories. I really enjoyed that one as well as this one. So there's those rarities where it works, but typically 3 to 5 stories works best for an anthology, just because then you can flush out the stories a bit more, you can remember them more, maybe some of the characters and stuff. So just know that about this movie, that they are going to be shorter stories that aren't as flushed out, especially from a character standpoint. And because of that, some of them don't land quite as well as some of the other ones, like the four I mentioned, and probably another 3 or 4 that landed better than some of the others. So, um, but yeah, that's nitpicking maybe a little bit. But all that being said, guys, I was really impressed with this, especially for the time of the year. Watching this on the 18th of December, it's a really good Christmas holiday time horror watch, and I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really solid for a lower budget movie that I didn't know anything about. I'm definitely going to visit Blood Moon Pictures more and see what they have in the future. But 8 out of 10 for 13 Slays Till Xmas. Comment down below if you guys have seen this movie, what you think of it. Do you like it? Why not? Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews. for this series. I still have four movies yet. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content, not only this series, but what I have coming right after the new year and basically the first half of 2024. So I hope you're enjoying this review series. I hope you're having a good holiday season. I would recommend checking this movie out if you haven't before. I don't know how easy it is to find online. Like I said, I picked it up at a horror convention for about 20 bucks. But I'm excited to check out the Blu-ray features that this has. I would try to I don't remember if they had it on DVD or if it was just Blu-ray. You'll have to do some looking on maybe you can even stream it somewhere. I'm not sure, but otherwise eBay, Amazon, Blood Moon Pictures, you could probably find it for sure on their website. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it. Of course, I'm a big fan of anthology movies. So that being said, I hope everybody's doing well this holiday season. But of course, stay scared. Bye.